Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Harper Thiel groundbreaking. I have a big smile on my face. This was one of the first projects I was assigned when I came to work for the city in 2002, a long, long time ago. And it has been one of the more challenging projects, but I have great pride for all the people who've contributed over the years and have brought us to this point today. So we gather this morning to kick off the renovation of the project. And this morning we celebrate the progress of repurposing an old city manufacturing site. We celebrate the stewardship of our environment and our historic structures. We celebrate this community and the residents' connection to this iconic structure. And we celebrate teamwork and perseverance. The teamwork of government agencies and communities working together to create unique solutions to challenging situations, and the perseverance to see those solutions through to a desirable end. So we're joined today by some elected officials. I'd like to point out County Councilman Penrose Hollins. Penn, there you are. Councilman Justin Wright. And this morning we're going to hear from our speakers, Mayor Dennis Williams, the Deputy Secretary of the Delaware Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Control, AKA DENREC. Kara Coates is with us. We're joined by District Councilman Nambi Chukwacho, joined by City Council President Theo Gregory, as well as Rose and Ralph Pepe. The Pepes are here. Thank you. And we're also joined by Bonnie Wu. Bonnie, I don't want to leave you out. Bonnie is here. Many of you know Bonnie. She represents Senator Carper and his wife Martha. The Carpers are residents of the community and have been strong supporters of this project from the start. So thank you for being with us, Bonnie. Before we get started, I was asked to give a little bit of a history of this site because it's really significant. I've got with me here an excerpt from, we call it sort of the phase one of the historical review that's done on all the city historic sites. And I've got just a couple of highlights I want to share with you. The land on which the Harper Thiel complex now stands was not developed until just after owner Edward Green Bradford sold it on May 12, 1916 to the Delaware Chemical Engineering Company. Between December 1st, 1915 and December 6th, 1916, there are 4 mentions of this complex in the Philadelphia Real Estate Record and Builder's Guide. The Delaware Chemical Engineering Company was the incorporated name of the Francis Irénée DuPont Personal Experimental Laboratory, which was established in 1917. Francis Irénée DuPont, when he established this Harper Thiel site, had just lost his seat on the board of directors for the DuPont Company. You see, Francis was the great-grandson of E.I. DuPont, the founder of the DuPont Company. He was also the lead point person on the establishment of the experimental station just on the outside of Wilmington's borders. Upon the falling out with his family, he left the company and came to this site to start his own experimental station. According to the correspondence between Alfred I. DuPont and his nephew, Francis Irénée DuPont, between July 1915 and September 1917, the work conducted at this plant included the separation of oxidized nitrogen from air, to form nitric acid and nitrates, the effects of strong electromagnets upon partially ionized gases, and the development of smokeless powder, which would be critical in World War I that followed shortly upon the construction of this site. The site became the research laboratory for the Darko division of the Atlas Powder Company in 1930, a company owned by Francis DuPont. And the Atlas Powder Company offices were headquartered in the Delaware Trust Building in downtown Wilmington. And the company exclusively manufactured black powder and dynamite. It functioned as Francis DuPont's laboratory up until 1946, when it was sold by the Delaware Chemical Engineering Company to Harry S. Thiel and his wife. Mr. Thiel was the co-owner of Harper Thiel Electroplating Company, and electroplating is the term for the deposition of metallic coating onto an object by putting a negative charge onto the object and immersing it into a solution containing a salt and a metal. And that solution, years later, would pose to be the big challenge to getting this site developed. And we're going to hear a little bit about that today. So I'd like to get into the program of our speakers. Our first speaker, Mayor Williams. Mayor Williams is committed to bringing jobs and attracting investment to our city, but not just to the downtown. Mayor Williams is a big advocate of strong neighborhoods and neighborhoods such as this. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to recognize Senator Margaret Rose Henry and Councilwoman Hanifa Shadaz. Also, my dear friend, retired City Council President Norman Griffiths, and my neighbor. Ladies and gentlemen, this project goes all the way back to about 1991 when the Ninth Ward Federation, is anybody here from the old Ninth Ward Federation? If you are, put your hands up. Lenny, me and you, I guess we're the only two. Well, the Ninth Ward Federation was working with this project many years ago when this was electroplating. And we found that there were some carcinogens over in Haynes Park, and we decided to come together, and we were about 150 strong to do something with this location here. And I want to thank Mr. and Mrs. Pepe for getting involved and deciding to come and do something with this project. When this project gets completed, it will transform this neighborhood. Believe me, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of people thought Home Depot couldn't make it. It's in the top 10 in the nation. The shopping center's coming back. The shops over here are coming back. We have a stable neighborhood. We have disposable income in this neighborhood. This is a great part of the city of Wilmington. And don't listen to all the negativity, the naysayers and the people who always talk about our city. All you have to do is come out of your offices or come out of your homes, and you will see the great city of Wilmington in which we are. All of these folks here who are elected to office, I know they feel the same way that I feel, the commitment to our city, and we have a great city. And I want to say to you, when this gets done, I'll buy the first 100 cups of coffee when you come here. God bless the city of Wilmington.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be right behind you.
Not kidding either, 100.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your commitment to our city and your unwavering support of our efforts in Office of Economic Development. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't tell you enough how the mayor supports us in our causes. He gives us the room to do what we need to do to get jobs and investment here into the city, and I'm very grateful for that, Mr. Mayor. Our next speaker is Kara Coates. Kara is the Deputy Secretary of DENREC. She's an attorney by training and an environmentalist in both vocation and avocation. Kara is a bird watcher, and if you ever take a walk with Kara, she can point out the species of birds based on their singing and chirps. I had the pleasure of working with Kara here in the city of Wilmington for 10 years. She was the environmental attorney in our solicitor's office, and she's responsible for many of the economic development achievements in our city. It's fitting that Kara stands here today representing DENREC, as she was the legal drafter of the Memorandum of Understanding that allowed for the state-funded cleanup of this site and the removal of over 2,000 tons of contaminated soil from this location. Kara?
Jeff. Thank you for that kind introduction. And I did notice when we came in, there were a bunch of vultures circling. They have since left, so we'll take that as a good sign. I'm here today on behalf of DNREC. Secretary Small had other commitments and couldn't come today, but I was really delighted to be asked to come in his place. As Jeff mentioned, I used to work for the City of Wilmington for about 10 years, and I have been very involved in this project and other projects in brownfields redevelopment in the City of Wilmington. So this is a fabulous day. It's also a great day for me because this is my neighborhood. I live just down on Baynard and 19th, and I drive past this site all the time. So like all of the neighborhood residents here, we're delighted to see some progress with this really unique site. So Wilmington is a brownfield success. The state of Delaware has had over 115 brownfields redevelopment sites. 70 of those have been in the city of Wilmington, and that's remarkable. So when I worked with the city, I worked very close with DNREC, where I now work, and it really is a partnership between the two agencies. But what funds this brownfields redevelopment is something called the Hazardous Substances Cleanup Act. And that places a tiny little tax on petroleum that you don't see, but creates this big pot of money that DNREC is then able to give out to developers to level the playing field between greenfield development and brownfields development. So it allows there to be urban infill, and the cost of brownfields redevelopment goes down, and the greenfield is an even playing field. So it helps to redevelop our cities, which is one of the most important environmental things we can do. Am I at the wrong mic? Sorry. Thank you, Alfred. So the city of Wilmington is a great brownfield success because of the Hazardous Substance Cleanup Act. So we've had lots of successes. You've all been down to the riverfront. You've seen the great redevelopment success. Harper Thiel has been more complicated, as Jeff alluded to. It's been complicated in two ways. First, the type of contamination. The Harper Thiel Electroplating Company was here from 1946 to 2000, and in the soil it left hexavalent chromium as well as PCBs. I don't want to minimize any other brownfield sites, but in Wilmington you get used to dealing with tannery waste, arsenic, lead, remediation, but this was different. And this was a situation where we needed to go to our federal partners, and the Environmental Protection Agency had a role in a removal action here. So it's been complicated from a contamination perspective. It's also been complicated from a historic preservation perspective. This building that we're standing in front of, it was very important to the community that it stay in place through the remediation. So this memorandum of understanding that Jeff talked about, it went through several iterations. A lot of us in this audience have been sitting at tables late into the night trying to work through how do we get to the next stage. It's been a very long process. So it's particularly rewarding to be here today to see the redevelopment happen. I'd like to take this opportunity to mention that our DNREC Brownfield staff is here. We've got Kristen Thornton in the back, we've got Tim Ratzep, we've got Robert Newsom, and they have been integral in this process. They've also been drafting that MOU on the other side. I'd just like to mention that DNREC is a very regulatory agency. We write permits and we enforce them, and then we make people comply with them. Brownfields is completely different, and the staff at DNREC's Brownfields team is just the best. They've transitioned into project managers and redevelopers, and that's a real shift. So just a great round of applause for the DNREC staff.
Here, here.
So thanks to Jeff Flynn for never giving up on this site, even when I had at times. And I've talked way too much about the history. I'd like to just talk as I finish about the future of this site. So I just want to thank Mr. and Mrs. Pepe for taking a chance. We appreciate your commitment to the City of Wilmington and for believing in the Brownfields redevelopment process. I look forward to working with you going forward. Many thanks. This is a great day.
Thank you, Kara. Next, I'd like to welcome 1st District Councilman Nnamdi Chukwucha. Nnamdi's committed to the 1st District, and what I've noticed about Nnamdi in the brief time we've been working together, that he's garnered a reputation for rolling up his sleeves and getting involved in community issues at the grassroots level. He's going to be joined by Council President Theo Gregory, who leads the efforts of the legislative branch of our city government. Gentlemen.
I would just like to thank all of those who've been involved with this project. It's been a long time coming. You know, I was even before being on council, was part of the Neighborhood Planning Council. And before I led that initiative, the leader of the 1st District Neighborhood Planning Council, Ivy Ibrahim, was involved in this effort. And then when he left, I took over that, and my predecessor on City Council, Councilman State Rep Potter, was also involved. But it's been a very long process. I mean, we sat at the table many times thinking that this site was going to be prime for develop. Rather, we're talking about the Delaware Horticulture Center, we're talking about other agencies, the greening place, the hanging gardens. I mean, there's been a litany of possibilities that have been presented to the community, but it's really been a resilient effort on behalf of the city to not give up on this site, and for the community to value this site, not to just let anything come here, because there was at one point talking about storage lockers being put here in a storage unit. So for the community to stand up and say that's not what we wanted. So always having that value and that diligence and realizing how important this site is for this thoroughfare in our community. So again, I thank those who are making the investment, the developers. I mean, this is a great day for our city. And as the mayor spoke about the opportunities in our city, what we need most is investment. We need those who are willing to invest in our city, from our schools to our communities to abandoned properties such as this. We truly need investment in order to move forward. So I thank the Peppies for their investment. I thank them for believing in our city and believing in our district. Thank you.
Good morning. When I think of this site, I think of the community leaders, the elected officials, and all the partners that have stayed with this site to ensure that it was developed. Quite frankly, given this uniqueness, its historic value, the way it's shaped and its location, I was fearful that it would just be here for a long time. But through the leadership of this community, we finally got this done, and I just want to commend and thank the leadership from the community for your good work. Thank you.
Well, we've heard a lot about the community today, and I just want to let the audience know that part of the process to find a redeveloper for this site entailed a request for proposal. Right after the site was cleaned up under the leadership of DENREC and a company called EA Engineering, it was about the 07, 08, maybe 09 time frame. Not the best time in economy to find a buyer for a site this complicated. So we set about patiently to start to identify uses, and you heard a couple of the examples given by the councilman, uses that were proposed. We actually went through 2 RFP processes with the help of a community review team, and it took a lot of patience. And a lot of vision to hold out for what was the right use. And so in a moment I'm going to introduce the Peppies, Rose and Ralph. But first I want to thank my colleague Lenny Sofrin. He's the Director of Planning. And what's so notable about Lenny, among many other things, he's a resident here, lives down the block, an architect, historian, but he brought the Peppies to our office, and when the Peppies indicated they were interested in putting a submission into the request for proposal, they invited me out to their shopping center, the Tallyville Shops, right there at the corner of 202 and Silverside. Thank you. See, I'm a city guy. I don't even know the names of the roads in the suburbs. Anyhow, it's where Lucky's Diner is. And when I went there, we toured the site, we looked at all the various businesses, and then we went to see a historic building that the Peppies relocated from the middle of Route 202. It's the Grange building. Many of you probably remember it. It was sort of next to Wick's ski shop, or the ski shop that was located there. Anyhow, they went through great efforts to relocate that historic structure to their shopping center property. And after seeing that property and all the small businesses in the Pepe's shopping center, I knew that we had the right people for the job. And I'm just thrilled to have them here with us and have their commitment to this complicated project. Ralph and Rose, thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and certainly thank everyone for coming. Mayor Williams, Wilmington City Council, Len from the Planning Department, Jeff from UDAC, DelDOT representatives, and DENREC officials, and the community, because and also M&T Bank representatives Allison Kerwin and Andy Levin, who have faith in this project, along with my wife and I. We are here today to really kind of celebrate this event. And this is a forerunner to what is going to happen when the site is completed, probably in a year and a half. And by the way, all the people that I've mentioned, the city, the state, it's going to be a concerted effort to rejuvenate this building and bring it back to life, so that it can become a treasure of this community, which I think it can be. We intend to be good stewards of this property, environmentally conscious of this property, and hopefully turning it to the community so that it can be used in a way that everybody benefits. I know my wife has some things she wants to say.
Yes, I have a couple of things to say. Some years ago, we had the same problem in Talleyville with the Grange building. It was casting a blight on the whole area. With its it sat in disrepair for years. The same thing happened. They couldn't find someone to rejuvenate it. Its outside walls were covered with torn tar paper. Pigeons had taken over the inside. And just like the Harper Thiel building, it was not a pretty sight to see day after day. But it took a huge effort. My husband and I saw the ad in the paper and responded that we would be willing to take on the job. And today, hope you can come and visit us someday, it is an example of how an old historic building can be restored to a beautiful and functional one while keeping its memories alive. An added benefit is that it seemed to have caused a chain reaction in the area. It was moved we moved it onto our property in a park-like setting, and it seemed like the rest of the area lifted itself up too. And the same can happen here. So picture a building restored and brimming with activity. Put on your imagination hats. It takes a lot of imagination, a lot of work and cooperation, but it can and will happen.
Some of the things I'd like to mention about the construction phase. We've kind of decided to do what we call a phase one, which will be to structurally repair the inside. Inside are all exposed trusses, so it's going to be a beautiful, it's going to have a beautiful effect inside. Repair all the trusses that need to be repaired. Structural walls need to be repaired, and completely redo the roof so that it becomes a watertight building. And also, maybe the second phase, working with my engineer, Steve Davies from Apex Engineering, along with Clay Greer, who's the environmental engineer, who's going to help steward this site to redoing this site. That's going to be the second phase. In addition to working on the inside, we're planning along this wing a possible marketplace so that No demising walls inside, everything open, small venues, a restaurant, people could come by on their way to work, get something quick. It's critical that Banner Boulevard gets opened up so that entrance off of Miller Road, exit out into Brandywine, or excuse me, onto Banner Boulevard. I estimate it's probably going to take a minimum year and a half. Maybe if we're lucky, the spring of 17, this will be completed and be part of the community. Also, I'm planning a farmer's market. I talked to a local produce, somebody that's in the business of dealing in farmers, has a farmer's market and a big operation. I'd like to bring him into this site so that the community will be able to come, walk here, shop for their fresh vegetables and whatnot. And the fact that seating outside, maybe umbrellas in the spring and summertime, in the fall, encourage people from the community to come, get something to eat, sit outside. It's just going to be it's going to be a beautiful site. It's going to be a community thing also. I think the woods over here, clean those woods up. Part of that woods is an extension of the Haynes Park. If we clean that up, that could be usable for the community. Maybe bike trails coming through here. It's got a lot of potential. It could be a biking hub. So anyway, I thank you all for coming. And this is only the beginning, and it's going to be positive in the future.
Ralph and Rose, know that you have the unwavering support of the City of Wilmington, DENREC, and all the other partners as you undertake this project. We're behind you 100%.